Ever since the lantern was added as part of the 1.14 Village and Pillage update, players have been asking for something that connects to it a little more suitably than iron bars. And 2 updates later, in the 20W16A snapshots for the Nether update, we got the chain, which is crafted using 2 iron nuggets and an iron ingot. This connects perfectly to the chain on the lantern texture and works excellently in a number of scenarios as well. So I'm going to be exploring 10 different designs you can use the chain for. Let me know what you would use it for down below and what you think of these designs. Anyway, let's get right into it. My first design is to use it as some kind of a stool thing in a bar. So using the brand new polished blackstone pressure plates sat right on top of the chain blocks, it creates really nice little bar stools for any kind of bar area. And this is better than the iron bars simply because you can put them right next to each other and they won't interfere with one another. You can also kind of sit on them, and it just works perfectly in this kind of scenario. This works best in builds such as suburban areas, or even something like a western style of bar or something like that. But anyway, I really like how this turned out. Let me know what you think down below. Next up, we have an anchor on a ship. Now, admittedly, it doesn't look too great from all angles, but from the angle you look at it the most, it looks absolutely fine. So basically, you have a bunch of chains hanging down from an area of the ship, and it connects to 2 cobblestone walls with 2 stair blocks facing away. Now, I did try some other designs using just the wall blocks and things like that, but personally I think that this just worked best for the scale of the chains themselves. Now, oddly enough, this is probably my favourite design, but it doesn't really have too many uses. But anyway, imagine some kind of hotel corridor, or just some kind of modern building or something, and you'll often have lifts in these areas. And while the doors won't always be visible, you could maybe have some kind of park or adventure map or something, where the door is open and you can see the chains of the elevator or the lift or whatever you want to call it just going down each layer. I think it looks really awesome. It adds a lot of depth to a corridor, just a little neat detail. I've also used the nice item frame design as well, but that's for another video. And I think this is just really a really interesting design. While it doesn't work in too many areas or too many scenarios, it still is a nice touch and is interesting to explore. My next design is hanging different things up. So here we have a gym, we have some little treadmills, we have some yoga mats, whatever you want to call them, and we have these boxing things. I'm not entirely sure what the perfect terminology is for them, but I mean, you can imagine people punching these. Oh, punch bags, of course, that's what they're called. How did I forget? But you can hang them down by the iron bars. If you're in survival mode, they won't break instantly, but obviously I'm in creative, and it just looks really great. It livens up the atmosphere, adds a little more functionality to the gym itself, makes it a tiny bit more interactive, and makes it a little more interesting. And as well, we also have some kind of underground area for a butcher's shop or something like that. Probably a medieval butcher's, and you could hang up the meat from whatever they're selling, beef or pork, whatever, and you could hang it up by the chains. I just think it works really nicely, just using them as what they're intended for, which is chains, and using them in these kinds of scenarios. Okay, I admit this one is kind of obvious, especially for the lanterns, but hanging up light sources, such as end rods, which fit perfectly onto this, would really liven up a room. I could imagine this hanging loads of these down from the ceiling in some kind of banquet hall to act like really modern, unique chandeliers or something like that, and it just really adds a lot of detail as well with these lanterns as well. This would definitely work in more of a modern scenario, and this could work pretty much anywhere, to be honest. And then this, admittedly, it only really works if you have access to commands or the debug stick. You do have to set a block and use the debug stick so it fits perfectly onto the chains. However, the bell does connect really nicely to the chains, and I wish we could actually place it like this in survival Minecraft. Next up, we've got different kinds of machinery. You could have cranes and all sorts of things. This is more of like scales, I guess. This would make sense in some kind of witch finding scenario possibly, or something like that. And it's just really great for some kind of medieval technology. You could also use it for catapults or trebuchets, and it just looks really nice. It also works really well with netherite. So if you got some netherite blocks, you could put it here, and it does work really nicely with the chains. Even if it is expensive, it could work nicely in some kind of creative mode build. Next up, we've just got a little flower basket using the sweet berries, and admittedly it doesn't fit perfectly. It is off by maybe 1 or 2 pixels. Actually, no, on second thought, it does actually fit perfectly onto the sweet berry bush. I can't really zoom in because I don't have Optifine, but look, it does fit perfectly onto the texture. So the sweet berry bush is probably the only plant that does this, or one of the only ones. But it does work really well as some kind of hanging box with a fence at the top, just hanging from a building. It does work really nicely in a scenario such as this one. Now, unfortunately, in one of the most recent updates, iron bars now connect to walls, but I'm not too annoyed because chains don't, and this means you can still create prison cells such as this one with bars, with the walls and the chains. You could alternate between bars and chains as well if you want them to be of an equal thickness. However, yeah, I think I prefer this one, but as you can see, it does create a nice prison cell. I know you can't actually walk in and out of it like normal, but it does create a nice amount of detail, and you could use it in some kind of ominous scenario in these prison cells or dungeons or something like that. This is also another one of my favourite designs. It's some kind of pulley system for a flag. So as you can see, I've got a little flagpole with a fence right at the top, a cobblestone wall, then a chain which does attach, or no, an iron bar which does attach to the cobblestone wall, then chains going all the way back down, connecting back to the cobblestone wall at the bottom, creating a nice little pulley system. And this, if you put the flag on it, it works perfectly in this kind of scenario. And I'm so glad it got added because I would use this so often if I was using flags designs like this. I think it works really nicely. I'm so glad it's a brand new unique addition to the game, and it works really perfectly for some kind of pulley system or even any kind of technology, really, medieval technology. It works really well in a number of scenarios, even a steampunk kind of build or something along those lines. And my final design is just 2 swings, and this is probably the perfect size for swings. So you could imagine these in some kind of playground or a park or something, and it just works really well as some kind of swings on something like this, because you only need 2 block wide swings. Normally, if you're using iron bars, they would connect, so you'd have to have 3 wide. However, chains work perfectly because they don't connect, and you can sit right in the center. These are such a great design, and maybe we could start seeing more parks and similar designs in the game. And there we have it, all 10 designs. I'm sure there are plenty more. I did think of a few that I just didn't include in this video because they were a bit too obvious, but I do hope you enjoyed this video. Please let me know if you think there's anything I missed, or if there's anything you'd change, or if you agree with all of my ideas in this. Anyway, thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.